This is the American Indians, indigenous peoples' troops. Justice for all, the most dangerous show on media anywhere.
Well, we had a little technical difficulty, so sorry about that to our everybody, but here we are. How are you this evening, Elder?
Alito, how are you?
Halito. Let's do this again. We're going to rerun that intro again because we want to introduce our guests.
Okay.
All right. So give me 1 second and we'll be right back.
No problem. This is the American Indians, indigenous peoples' troops. Justice for all, the most dangerous show on media anywhere.
All right. So here we are.
OCO, how you doing, Leslie?
Halito Chimichukma. You know, it's been quite a day today. I'm not really down with this weather. This weather has me a little under the weather right now. So the switch should change. It is freezing outside up here in the East Coast. I don't know about anybody else, but it is cold. And it became cold all of a sudden overnight.
Yeah, they said it was coming. You know, Leslie, the last time I've been this cold was during a Christmas season out at Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. I went out there with 3 tractor trailers full of clothes and toys and food and medical supplies to help our people out there. When we got out there, it was 39 degrees below zero.
Yes. And that's
Oh
South
my
Dakota,
God.
by the way. If you all don't know where Pine Ridge Reservation is, that's in South Dakota. So imagine.
Mm.
Yeah, very much. Well, listen, we have a lot to get through and unpack this evening. We have some really great news and some really awesome guests. But before we start, we're going to talk about, because this is Native American Heritage Month, and some known as Indigenous Heritage Month. I mean, I think that people are championing Indigenous as opposed to Native American because this is a time that we actually acknowledge everyone of Indigenous heritage, Americas, wherever they may be, Ireland, Norway. But before we start, it is our tradition to do a land acknowledgement. So we're going to do our land acknowledgement before we end up talking about our human interest story this evening.
Okie doke. Let's do that.
Do that land acknowledgement? Yes.
Okay.
So let's pause for a moment to acknowledge the traditional stewards of the lands that we reside on, and especially their ancestors, descendants, and all indigenous people who live now and ever lived on this land that we call Turtle Island and beyond. But more than acknowledgement, let's honor and support our existing indigenous communities by helping them continue their land-based practices, traditions, and way of life, by dispelling false narratives about their history and people while promoting their authentic truths, helping them heal from past wrongs and offenses, and assisting them in protecting and restoring back to health the land, nature, and water which brings life. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
So as I said, we are, this is Indigenous Heritage Month or Native American Heritage Month. And you're going to see a lot of festivities going on right now. People talking about Indigenous history, in particular Native American history, festivities going on. Probably you're getting, if you are of Native American heritage, probably getting, if you work a job, they're probably actually, you know, uh, asking and requesting you to come and speak at different events and stuff like this. But it's a time and a moment for us to actually speak about our people.
Mhm.
Ironically, this also falls during the time of Thanksgiving, which we call a national day of mourning. I think it's kind of a sly move for them to make Indigenous Heritage Month during that time, but I guess we have to take it.
It is what it is.
It is
We
what it
just make the
is.
best. We'll make the best out of it.
Exactly. We make the best out of it. And I think this is an opportunity for us to teach people about what Thanksgiving means to us as a people. So before we start, I'm going to do our human interest story, and we're going to talk about a little bit of history from my hometown. Here we go. So I decided.
Can't hear you. What happened? I think your audio got dropped. I don't know. Anyway, I think what we're looking at are some pictures of Cahokia. And those of you that don't know what Cahokia is, that was as actually the center point of where all the tribes in America sent their tribal representatives every year to meet and sit and talk and to teach each other how to treat each other. Hopefully, Leslie will be back. Okay. Can you hear me, Leslie?
All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. A little
That's
technical
okay.
difficulty. So I was saying before that we have a saying amongst our people is Mitakuya Oyasin, which means we are all one. And we say this because when we use this as a human connection story, we're going to use this as a teaching moment, especially since this is Indigenous Heritage Month, to talk about a place that's near my hometown. And like Elder Nightwolf said, this was a place where most people gathered, and there was a reason why most of our people gathered around this area to commune with one another. So let me just give you a brief history about this place. It's called Cahokia Mountains, and it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site located in Collinsville, Illinois. It's the largest pre-Columbian settlement north of Mexico and was occupied primarily during the Mississippian period between 800 and 1400. And when you say the Mississippian period, we're talking about the Mississippian Indians.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this site covers nearly 16,000 or 1,600 acres, or what they call hectares, and includes some 120 mounds. And the mounds were built by the Mississippians and served as platforms for buildings or burial sites. The largest mound is Monk's Mound, which is 100 feet high and covers 14 acres.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting. Now, it has become what we know now as like a museum, so you can go there and actually visit it and stuff like this. But these are depictions of what early settlements of the Mississippian Indians used. And you look at this, and this is very similar to what we see in Mexico. This is very similar to what we see in Egypt. These were civilizations, and let's say civilized being the key word here, civilizations with governments, with communities. Look at these depictions of how this looked. Nothing like the savages that we're mostly told about our people. Now, if you look at this platform, how it's built, these are how the layers are built with the stairs going up. They would usually have like a structure on top of it. Uh, the structures weren't placed on burial mounds. The burial mounds might have been like a burial structure, but they didn't have anybody living on top of those. They had, but they had like maybe a chief would live at the highest peak of one of these mounds. So this gives you kind of a clue or an indication of when these were built. And if you look at this, the year is 1150 AD. That's millions of years ago that this was built.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that what is really interesting to know is that this area, why the Mississippians chose this particular area, because it was near a river, and the rivers are sacred to our people as a water source.
Mm-hmm.
That whole area is sacred territory, going from Cahokia, Belleville, Alton, all the places, especially Alton, where I was born, and you can feel that in the air. If you are connected to the earth, you can feel how sacred that land is.
Mm-hmm.
But tell me a little bit about what you were saying, Elder, about how everybody would meet there during the year, every year.
Every year they would have a meeting, and it was like our political system throughout all of what we call uh, North America. And there would be tribal representatives, political leaders from the tribes that would all come together in peace and harmony and love to establish how we should treat each other, how we should prepare people for burial. I mean, everything was done there, and it all went back to where each and every individual originated from. And that's why they had such a problem with us. And when I say they, I'm talking about when the Europeans crossed the Atlantic and invaded us. Everything was organized.
Hmm.
And even to what we call the Great Law of Peace,
Hmm.
which came from the Iroquois Confederacy in New York, the Mohawks, the Seneca, the Cayuga, all of those nations, they had written a decree called the Great Law of Peace. Now, all of you that are watching this tonight, after the show, I want you to go to your computer and type in the Great Law of Peace. Print it out. And after you print it out, print out a copy of the United States Constitution, and you'll see everything that they stole in that Constitution came from our people. That's what I got to say.
Well, thank you for that history moment, because people have to know that. That's something that most people don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but if you look at these depictions, we were very civilized people.
Oh yeah.
And it's sad that we were depicted otherwise. But we could go into a whole diatribe about why we were depicted as such and why we were treated the way that we were treated. But we need to talk about our show this evening because we have a really wonderful show. But thank you so much for that history moment and for
You're
letting me share. It's something that's very funny I have to tell you about our our grade school used to go to Cahokia Mounds every year.
Hmm.
And the kids would go out there and they would run around the mounds and they would walk up on the mounds. And I never wanted to. And before I started reconnecting with my heritage, I felt different about going in there because I knew that that land was sacred. It was not a playground,
Mm-mm.
you know. But yeah, it is. You can go on excursions there, and I highly recommend it if you are someone who wants to study history and to look at the magnificence of these people. Then you definitely should go and visit it, but visit it with respect.
Exactly.
All right, so let's talk about our evening this evening. So there is a powwow going on,
Yes.
and we're very excited about this powwow. So we're going to bring in our guests. Let's bring them in right now.
Okay.
Halito, everyone. Halito Chuka Chafa. Can you all introduce yourselves quickly for our audience? Pete. Okay. The twins could go first, or Pete, you could go first. Pete, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Age before beauty.
Well, thank you for having me on the show, even though I'm being talked down to.
Yeah, you definitely get abused coming on this show, right?
Yeah, that's what happens when you do stuff like this with family.
True, true.
But I'm Peter Landeros. I'm a Yaqui Indian from Arizona. I work at Bowie State University as part of their public safety program. I'm an officer there, and Bowie State University is predominantly Black college, and this is going to be the first ever powwow that is going to be held at Bowie State. That the twins, Noah and Eva, wanted to do. I just helped get it all organized and put together along with a few other people, but it was their idea to begin with. So.
Okay. Well, thank you for that, nephew. You know I love you, right?
Oh, even though you got that Dallas Cowboy jacket on, okay, we love you still.
Yeah,
yeah. I know.
All right, twins, come in and introduce yourselves, please.
Noah Mikila Kewa. Hello, everyone. I'm Noah with my sister.
Eva Makila Kewa.
From the Holowasaponi tribe of Hollister, North Carolina.
Great introduction.
Yeah. So I got a question for the twins. Why did you want to have a powwow at Bowie State College? Are you students there?
Yes, I am a psychology major at Bowie State University, and I'm also a part of Bowie State University's ROTC program.
Yeah.
And the reason why we wanted to start this powwow is because just to educate the people on campus about our heritage and culture. Yeah.
And I'm also a contracted cadet in the ROTC program. My major is communications. And I wanted to start this powwow to having the feeling of home where I go to school at.
There you go. There you go. And I gotta give you thumbs up for that. So, where do we go from here? Pete, can you tell us about how it came about and all of the hurdles you had to jump over, if you had to jump over any, to make this happen?
Well, I've been working at Bowie now for about 2.5 years. The first year I was there, I saw no representation for Native people at all on campus. Even during the month of November, there was no representation whatsoever. So I started talking to different people on campus, spoke to the president, spoke to different people on that are staffed there about why weren't Native Americans represented here on campus. And basically what I was told was, oh, this is a predominantly Black college. We don't have any Native Americans here or indigenous people. And I was like, you got me. And I'm sure there's other students here who are part and just going with the flow. And the following year, I was able to do some talks throughout the year and introduce people to our culture just a little bit that way. I had UJ there. I had what is that? Allie and them come in from
Allie Hall from American Indian Society.
That's it. And her and Sheila. And at that time that we were doing some of those talks, we had people come in from South Dakota and Minnesota for Leonard Peltier March.
Mm-hmm.
And they were able to come to the university also and have a discussion. Well, it was after all that was done and over with, I get an email from Dr. Peters that the twins who I met in one of those discussions wanted to hold a powwow. How do we hold a powwow? And it started from there.
Well, I want to commend the Austin twins for having the gall to stand up and say, we are here and we need to be represented. So I know damn right.
I find it to be very interesting if you look at the appearance of everybody sitting here, how different we all look. And the thing is that, many of us look a certain way. You are going to a predominantly Black college, a traditional Black college, but most of us, especially Black people, don't know about our heritage, our mixed intersection. And this is what I'm the most proud of you all about doing, is showing that representation so that they understand that we are still here. We are, masking as Black people, masking as white people, masking as everything else out there, but the indigenous in us still exists. It just needs to be brought out. It needs to be reborn. It needs to be educated, because we're still here. As Tracy just said, she said the same old story. Everybody seems to think that we don't exist anymore. I think there's going to be a lot of reconnecting going on at that college campus once this powwow goes on.
Oh, absolutely. And she also says, thank you for bringing education and visibility to the twins. Yeah.
Really awesome idea. What has been the response that you've gotten from like other students regarding the fact that you are having this powwow? Is there some excitement around it?
They're very excited. Like, I was shocked because I didn't expect for them to be even interested in attending.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
So a lot of people are very excited and want to be educated. So that's good.
Has anybody come up to you to ask you what you're supposed to wear, what the etiquette is when you have a powwow?
I have actually made like a small presentation of what a powwow is and what you should do, what you shouldn't do. I made a whole slideshow and presentation of that, and I will still continue to push out powwow etiquette for those who've never been to a powwow.
That was a very smart idea, because a lot of times, things go on in a powwow, people are not familiar with it, but those are, there are rules to the land of the powwow, what we do. Now, my question is, how many people have you all got to participate? I mean, are you going to have dancers? Are you going to have an honor guard? Tell me a little bit about how you are presenting this powwow.
Well, the powwow is November the 11th, and that is the weekend of for Veterans Day weekend.
Right.
And one of the main things that we want to do is make sure that we honor the vets like we always do at powwows. But since it's Veterans Day weekend, we're going to take a couple extra steps to really honor those who have served in the armed forces, or not just the armed forces, but the police force, fire, and all that other stuff. We do have an MC, Miss Oxidine, who's very good from Carolina.
Mhm.
We have the Medicine Horse Drum, and we have the Zolt Singers
Mhm.
as our second drum.
Wow.
We have Chief Yuri Ridgway as our arena director.
Yep.
We have Lewis. What's Lewis's last name? Campbell for head man.
Okay.
I can't remember off the top of my head our head female. We do have an honor guard.
Are you talking
who's
about
going to be there?
Keith Colston?
Go ahead. No.
Okay, all right. I got that wrong.
Yeah, no. Miss Oxidine is from down there in Carolina. She does a couple powwows up in this area in Pennsylvania. She emceed the last powwow up in Pennsylvania, and she does a lot of other work in different areas. She's really good at what she does. And we're also planning to have a lot of community dances and to involve people who are inside the gym when those come up. We're going to have some discussions on murdered and missing people. We're also going to have some other topics talked about while this is going on. But the twins have a couple vendors coming up from Carolina.
Okay, so I gotta ask this: is there a fry bread vendor?
Of course, we have a good.
Yes.
We have Teresa Hill, who's going to be our food vendor, and very good food from her.
Oh, great fry bread.
Oh wow, I'm excited
corn
about
soup.
this. Ooh.
She was at the last powwow at the Tucson State Park. Very good food. Very good food.
I'm very excited about this.
The best,
yeah, but
the best Indian tacos in the world.
I
ate two.
What vendors do you guys have coming up from Carolina?
One of them is he was the chief of our tribe. I still call him chief, but he was also the chief of my fire department that I worked at, and he is he sells beaded stuff and has handmade wooden plaques and stuff. He has a whole bunch of good goodies to sell. So.
Well, Pete, I'm gonna tell you something. I got a surprise for us if we can get him out here. Guess who just walked in the house? My nephew, Mark Greeno from the Menominee Nation up in Wisconsin. He surprised me. He's going to spend the night here. He's here doing a conference. Can you get Mark for me? Tell him to come and get in here so we can talk to him.
Let me ask the twins. So as a result of you all having this, this is your first powwow there, and you are doing some education around it. You're going through classes and you're telling this. What has been the response from the faculty? I don't know. I got the response from the students, but what has been the response from the faculty? Have you had faculty come and talk to you and ask you questions? In particular, any of faculty that has anything to do with history, especially Black history?
all I can think of.
Yes, one of our captains in ROTC, he's very interested in attending, and he's gonna be inviting his family and everything. So that's one person. We're still trying to get the information out there right now. So more people, they're gonna find out. So yeah, we're gonna push the
Yeah,
information.
I know from talking to interested in having the powwow there, and they're excited to see what's going to happen. And some of them are really talked up. Well, I know I have some native blood, and this would be a nice way for me to start learning about it. Um, I just think that, once they hear that drum echo through the campus, that it's going to draw a lot of people in, like it always does. And we're just going to have a good powwow there.
Good time.
Now,
Good.
yeah, I also know that we have local vendors. We have Mark Tyak, who's going to be there. We have Nietzsche Tyak, who's going to be there. We have Stacy Little Deer, who's an artist, who's going to be there. We have the Murdered and Missing Grove. I believe my niece put in her paperwork to be able to braid hair at the powwow. And we also have another gentleman, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, who sells leather goods. And we also have Jimmy Two Hawks and his wife coming up, who sell leather work and things of that nature. So we don't have a lot of vendors, but we got a nice diverse.
I think
nobody's really selling the same identical thing,
right. And I think actually what you're offering is something that's extremely unique. And I think it's a great introduction for people who are not familiar with our culture or with powwows, attending powwows. Let me ask you all a question. If this is a success, and I know, I don't know where you all twins, where are you all as far as graduation? Are you sophomores? Are you juniors in college? What are you?
We're sophomores.
You're sophomores. Okay.
Yes.
So is this something that you want to continue as a tradition at this college, in the future, and as a means of educating our people, people who are identify as African American or Black people, educating them about our history, the intersection of Black people? And let me ask you this too: has anybody ever been surprised by the fact that you all are indigenous and you look the way that you look? That's the first thing that I want to talk about.
To answer your first question, yes, we hope to continue this on even out when we graduated. Hopefully, with this first one and the next ones to come, we will have more people who realize, indigenous students who would want to help continue this. And so when we're gone, it won't stop with us, but make it a part of Bowie's history. And I would always try to make it back even after I graduated. And to answer the second question, yes, all the time. Everyone would guess what I am. They would guess everything but indigenous, surprisingly.
So can I ask, because this is a common thing of people who are of that heritage, they often think that you are Hispanic or Caribbean. Is that what you often get?
Yes.
A long time ago when I was little, I got mistaken for Pacific Islander. So
I can see that too. I can see that too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, people, because people aren't educated on our history and stuff, they don't realize that we come in many shades, hair textures. Some of us are mixed, and it's okay. Yeah.
And most surprisingly, well, to me, it's surprisingly, some people I actually talked to did not know we still existed. So
Yeah.
it just boggles my mind that something like that is still a thing. So
It's a lack of education. It's a
Yeah.
lack of education.
It's a strategic education. Let's say that.
Mhm.
It's been a strategic education to say that we're not around, that we don't exist anymore, and that population of indigenous are now another color. So a lot of Black people who have indigenous heritage but don't identify as indigenous because they've been told that they are Black, and that's how they got to stay. I was explaining this to somebody recently about what it means to be Black or identify as Black or African American here in the United States. And I said the term African, we already know what that means. It means some type of affiliation to Africa. But American, what does that mean? American is of mixed heritage. It could be European, it could be an indigenous, but that's the one part of being African American that they want you to forget about is that American side of yourself. And many of us have grandparents, great great grandparents who are indigenous, but we are not. We're forced to identify as only one ethnic group here in this country and not other ethnic groups.
Hmm.
And that's the sad thing. And this is a commentary here because
Excuse me. Mhm.
most Black people, especially a historically Black college, one of the reasons why those colleges were created is because we weren't allowed to enter in any other type of college. And so we made a community for ourselves. The thing is, that community of Black people who created these historically Black colleges were also people who were indigenous and mixed race. And this is something that we often forget about.
That's very true. And that all started back when Dr. Walter Plecker became the Secretary of Vital Statistics for the state of Virginia. Whenever there was a child born, a native child, he would not allow that to be on their birth certificate. So if they had native blood mixed with other blood, no, you couldn't put that on their birth certificate. And he was the father of eugenics. I don't know who was worse, him or Adolf Hitler, because it's really sick. It's sick, and then you have people out here that are bought into that mess, Well, you're not an Indian because you don't look like an Indian. I said, is that right? Well, what is an Indian supposed to look like? Well, Tonto. I said, you're about as dumb as the day is long. We came in so many different shades, sizes, intellect, and you have it because we are the original people of the Western Hemisphere.
Period.
Yep.
With the T at the end.
Oh yeah.
So I'm really excited about this powwow and the people that are going to reconnect and find their heritage. You're going to probably get inundated with people asking you how they can find their people. This is what this show often talks about, everything, but you all are going to be inundated with that because I think it's important for us to have that connectivity. Being in the presence of that part of ourselves, of that part of our heritage, you just automatically are compelled or gravitate to that culture. My question, I guess, another question that I have for you all, and I asked you this before, I'm just curious about the faculty's response. You have teachers there that are unaware of this history. I'm just curious, have you all had any of your teachers come up and ask you all anything or misidentify you as indigenous, as Black or indigenous? I'm really curious about that.
Mm-hmm.
I know I have a lot of interaction with faculty on campus, and a lot of them just don't know. Even though they're very educated people, they have doctrines and education and things of that nature. Like you said, it's selective education.
Mm-hmm.
They may know a lot about what subject they're teaching, the African culture, but they're really ignorant in the aspect of if they have indigenous blood or not. Or, I mean, I even got a lot when I first started working there, you know, people saying that I was Samoan or you know, something like that from the South Pacific. And I was just like, no, I'm a Yaqui Indian, you know. And the first couple of times I had discussions there, it was just me having a conversation with mostly staff members in these little meetings that were set up. And a lot of them were really of that mentality that you guys are still here. And the other mentality was, well, since I'm a Southwest Indian, that's okay. They can understand that. But there are no other Indians here in the East Coast except ones that come from the West to live here. And I was like, no, that's not true. And then I would ask them, where are you from? Oh, I'm from DC. No. Where's your family from? Oh, they're from Carolina. I was like, okay. How long were they in Carolina? Oh, as far back as we know. So, okay, then you're probably mixed with indigenous people from that state. Or they say they're from Georgia or Louisiana or Florida. Okay, if your family's been there for a really, really long time, it's there. Okay, because of the interaction between the indigenous people on this coast with the African slaves, and even before that, because the Africans have been coming here long before Columbus got lost at sea and found the Caribbean. So this has been a real opportunity to educate people who are curious on what's, you know, what indigenous people are and what we do. And this powwow is going to be a great opportunity to show them this is who we are, and this is just one of the many things that we do.
I love that, Pete. I love what you said, because I think that people have to know that. Elder, you said this one time to me. You asked, I think, Chief Billy Tyak, who's indigenous, at one time, and tell our audience members what Chief Billy Tyak said.
I asked him on one of my radio broadcasts many years ago. I said, "Who is an Indian?" He said, "An Indian is one who carries the sacred ancient blood of the Western Hemisphere in his or her veins." And he says, only an Indian can recognize another Indian. I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, if you're not, then you belong to a special tribe. I said, well, what tribe is that, Uncle Billy? He said, the Wanabes. I said, what's a Wanabe? He said, the wannabes. And, you know, I like to add something else to that too, Leslie, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Native people, the indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere, over 100 years before Columbus was even born, they rowed across the North Atlantic into Galway Island. And we were the ones that discovered Europe before they came over here. And did you know that around the same time, the Chinese came here to visit us in the Ming Dynasty? And then the Phoenicians came here. But then you got these crazy white people that would tell you, oh, we know who the Phoenicians were. They were white ocean-going sea merchants. No, they were not. They were African that came here that had already established international trade on the high seas. I got books to prove it. And even a lot of our people joined them on them big ships they came here on and got involved in international trade. So we're way ahead of the game. Okay, that's all I got. I'm sorry.
Well, that's what we're here for. We're here for that history lesson. We really are. I want to ask, first of all, I want to ask the twins, and then I want to ask Pete, What do you all hope to accomplish by having this powwow?
Something that I hope that will be accomplished is those that may know that they have native blood in them to reconnect and feel comfortable with reconnecting.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I hope that to let everyone know that we're still here,
Oh,
still
yeah.
thriving and resilience.
Mhm.
We still have issues that we're trying to overcome, but we're getting by and by. Just,
Well, I want to commend both of you on at least not wanting education, but going and getting your education to qualify for things way above what a lot of your ancestors had imagined, and that you are actually fulfilling the dreams of your ancestors.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's something that you said, Elder. And then we're going to ask Pete what he hopes to accomplish. But as somebody who is reconnecting later on in my life, and actually the oldest, I would say, matriarch of my family line from my grandfather, my uncle Tony is the oldest
Mhm.
patriarch. It's something that I wanted to continue, that they that my ancestors were never forgotten. And I say this all the time: if it wasn't for an indigenous woman and an indigenous man, my grandfather would not have been the man that he was, and we would not be here today if it wasn't for them, watching out and taking care of him. So when people ask me why I reconnected at such a late age in my life, I said, when I finally do meet my great grandmother, I don't want her to ever say to me that I forgot her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's true.
Uh,
And it's a requirement that we connect with our elders and our ancestors, because a lot of times people forget to connect, and then the ancestor will die and all of that history is lost.
Exactly. And I think that that's the thing, is it was meant for us to lose that connectivity to our indigenous selves, our African selves. It was meant for us to be a people that were identified by the colonists here as someone who couldn't own property, some that was less than human. It was meant for us to be that way, but there is so much heritage in who we are as people of color in this country, and so much depth to that, so much power in it. I think that they were afraid of us connecting with those things inside of us. So I encourage people who are seeking that part of themselves. I encourage you to look for your ancestors, find them, find out who your people are. By finding out who your people are, that gives you a whole indication of who you are and where you're going. Um, Pete, can you give us your opinion? Just tell us what you expect to happen from the result. What your result is for this powwow.
My result for this powwow is to show off us as a people and to show the campus and the surrounding community that we're still here. And this is something that we as Indigenous people do, and everybody can be there and have a good time. Also, a couple weeks ago, we had a bad incident on campus. There was a shooting. Two people got hurt. Nobody's critical, but this is also a way to show the community that we can hold an event and it is going to be peaceful and calm and respectful to the community, because all powwows are that way. And we don't invite trouble in when it comes to a powwow. But this also is a way to educate the educators. We're going to educate these doctrines of education who think they know it all, and they don't.
Nope.
Okay, this is a way to teach these students who, oh yeah, I'm part Indian. and that's it. But they live their life a completely different way,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't have that respect and honor
Mm-mm.
that we as traditional Indians carry every day. And this is a way to show that to the community. And anytime something like this that can happen to better the community, it needs to be done so that people can see it. And this is a way to show that we're bettering our community.
Exactly. Someone just made a comment. It says from Francis Austin, you mentioned what indigenous people look like. We cannot forget about the Dawes Act. It enabled Caucasians to claim Native American in order to gain benefits of land. That is so true.
That is true. And explain how that is, Elder. Can you explain this to our audience? Francis's statement, what she's saying here.
Well,
what he's saying here.
You got back when they were slaughtering our people, and a lot of the folks were going west, white folks, and they ran out of supplies. They would go to the Indian agents who just happened to be white as well and pay them $5 so that they can get an ID card in order to get food to survive on. And we call them $5 Indians. So much went into all of that. And now you got this is going to blow your mind. You got a white woman down in the Cherokee Nation in North Carolina that is pointing fingers and trying to tell people whether you're an Indian or not. Come on, get off of it, And they've attacked people like Martha Redbone. What's the lady's name?
Sheen Littlefeather.
Yeah.
Littlefeather. And right now, Buffy Sainte Marie.
Oh yeah, well she had something for her. So, be aware of who's around you and who you allow to get in your circle. Because some of the people that you think are okay are out to get you, but basically they're out to get our people. So
you have to think about the agenda behind the agenda.
Oh yeah.
Why would someone stage a witch hunt to find out if you are indigenous enough or if you are actually qualified to be indigenous? Now, I'm not going to say that there are people that don't do that. We have a lot of people who appropriate our culture, a lot of people who pretend that there's something, make money off of it. But if someone is doing something for our people, if someone is bringing attention to things that are happening within our community, why would you go after that individual?
Well, you know what? I just saw a post from the Austins. It says, Dr. Francis and Dr. Roy Austin, Eva and Noah's parents. You're thanking us? No, thank you for them.
Yes, thank you for them.
Yeah, you did a good job with raising these two people, and hopefully I'll meet you guys at the Pow-Wow. I hope.
Yeah. Can't wait to see you.
Okay.
Can I say something about this what's going on right now and about the $5 Indians and the Dawes Act that Francis talked about? So if you're not familiar with the Dawes Act was it was an act in Congress brought to Congress by a white man to identify people who were of certain blood quantum, or how they identified it. Some kind of like almost like you would do with a horse or a dog. If you had a certain percentage of blood, indigenous blood, you were then indigenous enough to own land. And this was all about a land grab, especially when we were forced to Oklahoma and there was oil found on the land there.
Mm-hmm.
So many people who were, people like my great-great-grandfather, people who were of African heritage, some people who looked white, a lot of people went there to try to claim their right to be part of their indigenous people. And let me just say this. You said something about the $5 Indians who would pay $5. These are people who would travel to Indian territory that had no money. They were sharecroppers. They were farmers, but they put all their money into going before this Dawes roll, many to be denied because they looked too black or they looked too white or they said that they couldn't claim anywhere. It was a white board deciding if you were indigenous enough. So
Mhm.
what we see is representation of what indigenous means today, like in the media, Pocahontas, some of our actors that we see. Those are people that they decided were the Indian look, our Western Indians, our Plains Indians,
The
what
Hollywood, the
the
Hollywood.
Hollywood Indians, and some played by Italian actors, by the way.
Oh yeah.
So my point is this: there was a lot of meddling by our government to separate people, to make sure that we did not own land, to make sure that we didn't have more property in Oklahoma. And unfortunately, for those people who are identified as the five civilized tribes, my family being of Choctaw lineage, they also got caught up in that colonistic mindset. So you see today that you'll have bylaws that will, you can't join a nation because you're not of a quantum amount of blood. And they believe this. What is happening is, though, that people within the community, within that indigenous community, is marrying outside of the community, not marrying within the community. So at some point, there's going to be a genocide, a paper genocide of people not being indigenous enough to claim heritage to a nation. Did I explain that well enough?
You did. And but one thing that the first time I went to Oklahoma, which was like 35, 40 years ago, this lady walked up to me. She said, "Who's your family?" Now, if an Indian walks up to you and want to know who you are or where you come from, they want to know who your family is. It's that family name. All that other stuff is a bunch of crap, and everybody knows it. No, who's your family? You know, oh, I knew your grandmother. Oh, you did? Yeah, she was blah, 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 blah. Okay. And that is the past for our people to verify who you are. And I've got like, I actually represent four different tribes. My people in South Carolina, they're the Cherokees. And my father's father was actually a Western Shoshone from Arizona. My father's my grandma Sylvia, she was a Taino Arawak from old San Juan, Puerto Rico. So the blood is there. And why do I have to prove anything to white people about who I am? I know who I am. You know, tell me where your ancestors came from. That's what I want. Okay. And I remember Chief Billy Tayax, I think you remember this, Pete. Uh, he said, "Yeah, we're going to get us some Native American archaeologists, and we're going to go out there and dig up some of their graves and do some experiments on their bones and find out where they got syphilis from that killed them." I mean, this is sick. This is so sick. Now I see.
That's Frances, and she said, Dr. Roy Austin also wanted to mention that our tribe is part of the Nansemond of Virginia, where we were federally recognized a few years ago, along with the 6 other tribes from Virginia.
Absolutely, I remember that, and I think some of those people actually went to Europe, went to England, and I got to tell you something too. This whole thing about who is an Indian. Remember one thing what Chief Billy Tayak said. If you carry the sacred ancient blood of the Western hemisphere in your vein, then you're an Indian. If you don't carry the blood, you belong to the Wanabe tribe.
Well, let's wrap it up because we are at the top of the hour. And I just wanted to wrap it up about the fact that I'm very proud of you all. Pete, I'm always proud of you because you're doing your thing. I always see you representing. But to the twins, I'm very proud of you. And the reason why I'm very proud of you all is because you all are initiating a movement that is not a popular movement. It's not popular within our own community of people who appear to be African American or Black. It's not it's not a popular movement with white people. It's not a popular movement with even indigenous people who have been conditioned to believe elsewhere, otherwise. But I want to tell you all, I am extremely proud of you. I hope that I can make this powwow because I want to see history in the making. And I want to see people reconnecting. I want to see those moments on people's faces. So I'm going to try very hard to make this powwow. And
Okay.
thank you all for doing that and being brave to do this.
Thank you.
We
have
have application of my husband's ancestors who was denied entry into the Dawes roll due to spelling and grammatical errors. Her siblings were all accepted. However, now my husband is doing the hard work of reclaiming what was previously lost in language and culture. This is how the colonizers lose. Damn right.
Yeah. The thing is the thing that they put on paper is the thing that we are able to use against them and people who are coming back to find their history. That's the interesting thing. And Daniel Miller says he's 1/8 Etowah, 1/8 Cherokee, 1/4 Celtic, and 1/2 European here. Celtic being an indigenous people, by the way. So you are 3/4 indigenous, sir.
That's right. And Etowah, those were the holy people of the Cherokees.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I tell you,
And-
so I'm glad to see this. I'm glad to see this. So do we have any last minute commentary before we go off the air? Once again, just tell everybody when the powwow is so that our audience will know.
Pete?
Saturday, November the 11th from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. And I also want to say this. I'm the director of American Indian Movement in Maryland, Washington, D.C., Pennsylvania, and Virginia. And one of the major things that we are to do as part of the American Indian Movement is to educate people on us as indigenous people, okay? And to unite us as a people here on this East Coast. And just to shoot down a lot of the ideas that people have us as Indians.
Mm-hmm.
And us doing this powwow at Bowie State University is going to really allow us to do that.
Absolutely. And one more comment on that. Did you all know AIM, the American Indian Movement, was and is the very most powerful Native American civil rights organization that ever was? Okay. So,
All right. And the twins, can I give you all a quick commentary before we close for the evening?
Yes, ma'am.
go ahead.
What would you like to say?
We hope to see any viewing if they can, come out to the powwow, and it's free. Entry is free. And yeah, my brother and I, we will be participating in the powwow too. So we get a chance to meet us. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Love that.
Yeah. So, Pete, you were telling me that some of the food is going to be free.
Not to you.
I know where you live. I know how to find you and nobody else do.
That'd be the only reason why you're going to show up, because you thought you were going to eat for free.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you. She said, I'm so proud of all of you except Pete.
Tracy, maybe we could go to the powwow together.
Tracy Inaru. Okay.
And you said it right. She's TAINO.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
you said it right, Elder.
Yes,
yeah, Tracy is one of the board members of Reflections of Turtle Island,
Oh,
Rotime.
wow. You're going to
Yes.
be there, Tracy? I got to see you.
So, Jay, did you ever get in touch with the the jingle dress dancers that are all
You talk
military.
the
Oh,
women,
Micheline Big Man.
yeah, the women warriors.
Yes.
Yes, and I'll tell you about that after the broadcast.
Okay.
All right. So Daniel wants to know one more time where the powwow is going to be on November the 11th from 11 to 6 p.m.
At Bowie State University in the city of Bowie, Maryland, and it's being held in the McKeldin Gym.
Okay, all right.
And what I'll try to do is put that in post for our audience members
Okay.
when we close this evening. So, Elder, any closing words before we leave? And thank you once again for our guests for coming. Thank you, twins, Ava and Noah. Thank you, Pete. Once again, you're always there and available to talk to us. And can't wait to see you all, hopefully, at the powwow.
I just want to say this. Do any of you really know what it's all about? It's not about the color of your skin or the color of your eyes. It's not about the clothes you wear. It's not about that deity that you pray to and call God. It's not about any of that. Do you really want to know what it's all about? It's how you treat my heart. Your brother and or your sister don't necessarily have to look like you to be your brother or your sister. So let's get smart and start treating each other like we were supposed to do in the beginning. Family. We are family. I remember Sly and Family Stone made that song. We are family. Yes, we are. I want to see my family out at Bowie State University for the powwow, November the 11th. Next month, this month. I'll talk to you all then, and I'll leave you with these words of Cherokee. Danada, Goai, Wado. And Wado in Cherokee means thank you. Thank you, Leslie. I love all y'all. Okay?